Over the last 50 years, the cost of higher ed has exploded in America. Let's discuss what the causes of this price increase are. One, for public universities, there has been a decline in public support. So, public colleges used to be heavily subsidized by state taxpayers. But as the state funding has declined since the 1980s, as well as after the 2008 recession, institutions have shifted the burden from state taxpayers onto individual students through higher tuition. This effectively privatized much of the cost of higher ed for our young people on the state level. Two, we've seen a huge increase in administrative bloat on college campuses. So the number of administrators or compliance officers, support staff, this has all grown far faster than the number of faculty members or students, which is increasing the costs that through tuition and fees. Much of this expansion is due to federal and state reporting requirements, student services, DEI requirements. That's obviously been a huge part of the public discourse, as well as marketing and recruitment staff. This administrative bloat is ultimately shifted onto the student tuition costs. Three, there has been an arms race in amenities, especially among large public universities and prestigious private universities. Schools are competing with each other with who can have the most prestigious and pristine amenities, whether it's gyms or luxury dorm rooms or climbing walls and gourmet dining. All of this gets baked into tuition and fee costs. These upgrades don't necessarily improve student outcomes or instructional quality, but they will increase the cost, and they have over the last several decades. Fourth, the ease at which we allow young people, 18-year-olds, to take out just about as much student loans as they want has ultimately increased the costs. Federal loan programs like Sally Mae virtually guarantee that schools are going to get paid regardless of student outcomes, whether they graduate, whether they get jobs after college. And this reduces any pricing pressure on the institutions themselves. Just like with healthcare, when a third party system lets institutions raise prices without any immediate pushback from a consumer, in this case, in healthcare, it would be a patient. In this case, it's a student. There's no incentive for the institution to lower the price. The consumer, the institution gets paid regardless of the outcome. Fifth, the way that faculty and research is structured on large research institutions has increased the cost of school. So tenured faculty tend to have high fixed salaries and benefits, while adjunct professors who are doing a lot of the actual instruction are underpaid. The real driver is that the research aspects, the research portion of these institutions is really a huge driver of cost, which is being subsidized by the costs that are affiliated with the teaching itself. Time and resources are shifted from teaching into the research, whether that's in terms of who's getting funding and compensation on the professor level, or where tuition dollars are going. Tuition dollars aren't necessarily going to the actual teaching and learning. They're instead being diverted to research, the research aspect of these institutions. Sixth, market barriers. Accreditation rules have made it hard for new entrants to enter the higher ed market, if you will. And so as a result, there's little competition on the existing schools that are the existing schools. This limits institution innovation and allows incumbent institutions to maintain high prices. And the few who have entered have tended to be nefarious actors, for-profit colleges like Trump University, who have taken advantage of students without actually giving much education. Seven, administrative and compliance costs have increased. So different compliance requirements have led to a increased cost burden on these schools, and they've shifted it to their students. Title IX enforcement, campus safety requirements, disability services, state and federal mandates uh, that all increase the cost. And a lot of these requirements are good regulations, but ultimately they all add up to shifting to being a large amount of money, and they shift that onto the students rather than absorb them through their endowments or figure out lower cost ways to do this this regulation compliance. Eight, prestige economics has led to a incentive for universities to keep increasing their costs. College is seen as a necessity to enter the middle class at a minimum in America. That seems to be the general understanding. So demand remains strong regardless of cost and regardless of outcome. Elite schools in particular raise prices to keep up with the other schools who are raising their prices because high tuition signals prestige. Ninth, lastly, rich kids subsidize other kids, and that ends up leading to higher costs for all. This is called high tuition, high aid. Colleges advertise a very high sticker price, but many students pay less than the actual sticker price based on need based aid or merit based aid. This lets them maximize their revenue. They get as much revenue as possible from wealthier students while still filling the seats with middle class and lower class students. But schools as a result will raise the sticker prices frequently dramatically, while the average paid by the student increases gradually over a very long every year. And so this sets a high public perception that the cost um is not increasing. It's only the rich people who are paying too much, but in reality it's the average price that keeps increasing every year. Those are the big causes of the increased price of higher ed in America. One thing that's worth discussing is community college. This has been a bright spot. Community college costs have increased over time, but not nearly as much as the cost of public education and private education. Community college has been a huge opportunity for Americans to get ahead. The other big bright spot here in New York would be the CUNY SUNY programs that have really tried to reduce their costs and has been a huge driver of lower students entering middle class professions. But in general, the cost of higher ed, the cost to go to college has become a crisis in America as students are burdened with rising debt and outcomes are not necessarily that impressive.